All right, you guys. So I have Jeremy on right now, and we're going to talk about the intentional relationship value and practice that we have in our groups. And so let me just preface this because I'm going to have Jeremy share about how we can win at this. But let me just say this. If your group is just meeting to do the discussions around the session studies and you're not also trying to bring in this value in the practice of the implementation of the value of intentional relationships, you're never going to see the results that we often see from the groups that do so well at Ordinary Movement with their men's and women's groups. So please, I find that the temptation because of small group and church culture is to treat this like a normal curriculum in a small group kind of setting and just meet and do the studies. And we're here to say, hey, please resist that. We're trying to break that culture and bring in better, healthy discipling culture. And so that being said, Jeremy, what are ways that we can implement the core value of intentional relationships in our groups?
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Alex. I think that's so important. You said the core value of intentional relationship. It's not a secondary thing. It's not something we add if it's convenient. It's the core to what we do because what we do is make disciples and make disciples. And it's impossible to make disciples and make disciples without relationship. And so we have to be intentional about that. And what I mean by that is we all have relationships in our life that revolve around hobbies or things we enjoy or, investing or whatever it would be, right? And these are relationships and we talk and such, but they're not intentional in the sense that they're not focused on this mission of making disciples and make disciples. They're not centered around Christ, right? First and foremost. And an intentional relationship, which we talk about in Ordinary Movement in the book up there, is first and foremost centered on a relationship with Christ. So we have to be very intentional about that. And then we also have to be intentional about making sure it happens because it won't happen on accident. And so discipleship without intentional relationship is not discipleship. It's just a curriculum. And that's what we've seen in the church a lot. But that's why we're not seeing disciple-making efforts expound like we would like to see or movemental like we'd like to see. So we've had a lot of questions lately about how do I do intentional relationship? They're confused. I can't get traction. And I think a lot of that is, and it's not to be critical because I've been there as well, but I think we overthink it. And it's really just being friends with the people in our group. And then the question is, how do we do that, right? And I think one thing that is fun to do is activities and get people together and do activities. The problem with it, and I'm not discouraging you to do activities. I'm telling you to do them. They're fun. They're great at relationship building. The problem is if all you try to do is activities, most people that do that get frustrated very quickly because it's hard to get people, like not everybody wants to mountain bike. Not everybody wants to hike. And not everybody has a Saturday to do it, right? And so sometimes activities can be the hardest thing to do in an intentional relationship, and then people give up. So I would say throw activities in when they can, make it, and supplement with activities because that's a lot of fun. But I would make the core of it more about, getting deep in relationship with each other. For me, I have found, and this isn't for everybody, but I have found that I often do every other week studies. And then on the non-study weeks, we on the same day and time, because most men that I lead have already scheduled that in their calendar. So it's a day and time that works for them, is we have intentional relationship on that same day and time on the off study week. And then we make that a little less challenging. It's like, hey, we want you to be there. We expect you to be there if you can, but we also understand that life happens and you committed to every other week study, not every week. So be there as much as you can. And we make it really simple. And you would say, well, how can 8 guys getting together be intentional? We do it by following the model of the OC group, which you can hear more about in the video, which we'll link below. OC groups is something you can continue to do with your group after you finish your study. But we ask a simple question: how's your heart? That's the only question we ask, and that's our intentional relationship meetings. And so we start with prayer, we invite the Holy Spirit in, and every person has a chance to share how their heart is. And when we ask that question, Alex, if I ask you that question now, you're not going to tell me about the weather, you're not going to tell me about politics. You're probably going to say something you're struggling with, something you're celebrating, something you're mourning, or maybe all three, right? So deep in your heart, something that the Lord is revealing to you. Those are normally what comes out of how your heart questions, right? So you get deep into relationship with these people and you can see exactly where they are in life. And when we finish, we have a prayer. We have a prayer list that goes out, and then we end with what's God saying to you? What are you going to do about it? And prayer. And it doesn't sound like much on the surface, but I can tell you it has been unbelievable. It's created friendships, deep, meaningful friendships, and it goes much deeper than just get together and have coffee and talk. And so I think that's worked really well for me. Another thing that I would recommend, if that doesn't work for you, or on top of it, if you want to do activities or such, is as a leader, make sure everyone in your groups knows that intentional relationship is not your responsibility; it's everyone's responsibility. This is a group effort. It's not you are supposed to be intentional with 8 different guys. If you have 8 guys in your group, it's 8 guys should be intentional with each other. There's a big difference in that, right? And so you should be encouraging one-on-one coffees, breakfast, lunches, bike rides, whatever people are doing, right? You should be encouraging one-on-one, but we should also be encouraging come together as a group. And so make sure people know it's not on you alone, it's on us as a group. And then with that, as a spinoff of what I said before, if that doesn't work for you, the every week, is I think creating a spreadsheet early on and then rotate every month and assign each person a month. And so, Alex, if you got the month of January and you lived in Vail, where I live, the Vail area, then it's your month. So you may do a family ski trip on a Saturday, right? So you would plan it well in advance, and it would be your responsibility, and you would rally the troops. And so now you're not just one person's not wore out constantly trying to get people to do something. We're spreading that out. And what happens with that as well, it's very similar when you lead. Once you lead, you then feel the need to really support the next guy leading because you realize the pressure of it. So once you have a month, then the following month you really want to support the guy that it's his month because you know what it felt like to get everyone involved. So I think it allows for more buy-in, I believe. Those are just some easy, quick ideas. What about you, Alex? Do you have any that have worked for you?
Yeah. Let me say, I like the idea of, you just bust out like, hey, if we're meeting 6 months or 12 months, here's all the months. Let's put a name on every month. You're the leader. You're taking the very first one to set the tone. And then, asking everybody to think of something fun they'd want to do. I think that's brilliant. I hadn't thought of that before. So wanted to thank you for that tip.
Oh, brilliant, baby.
and then, I was like, on what I've done, has been very much a matter of like my season of life. So for me and discipleship efforts and activities and things, I have a 3 and 5-year-old, and for a season, my wife, was stay at home and tired with the kids all day. So like I continue to try to find things that I can bring my family into so that I'm not away from my family as often. And I would encourage anyone else to as well. Like you're only going to go so far. You need to be caring about the discipleship of your family as well. Yeah. Anyone listening. So that being said, I kept it really simple of thinking about dinners. Like, hey, just everybody, like we're going to do dinners. Your whole family's invited. I think that's the most simple, lightweight. It's people are just hanging out. We're talking. We're catching up on life. A lot can happen at dinner together with people. I've also met with guys at a playground and just been like, hey, bring your kids. Again, you're not putting pressure on your wife to watch the kids so you can do discipleship more than you've already committed to doing. But now you're actually like doing life together with other guys. Guys don't have to have kids to come play at the playground. But thinking that way, I found to be really helpful. The last group that I led was 6 months. And so we aimed for like a monthly dinner night, and I think that's kind of an ideal. And to your point, like we didn't always have everybody make it. And I think that's okay. And so I think, Jeremy, on the note, maybe as we kind of lead off with this is just, or come to the close of it is do something, be intentional. Like the worst thing you can do as a group leader is nothing. And to forget about this or to say like, or because it's work to get people to do it, to not do it. Again, you're not going to see the results that we see from the groups that see tons of growth. In people's walk with Jesus and in their relationships and in their multiplication and the transformation. Like you're going to see the best results by really understanding this is a core value. We couldn't just build it into the workbook because it's part of life and doing life together.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, that's it. Final thoughts, Jeremy? Are we done?
Yeah. Well, just a couple of thoughts on yours. I think getting families together is really valuable, no matter what age the kids are. Because oftentimes what I've seen when no matter if it's a women's group or a men's group, when the families come together, other groups spin off of it. So if it's a men's group, oftentimes a women's group, because they see the value in it. They see what's happening with their spouse and they want the same for themselves. And I've seen deep friendships come from these relationships of men coming together and then wives that didn't know each other now have deep friendships. So I think that's really cool and a great idea. And I think just to kind of wrap it up, I think we just have to stop overthinking it. I think we have to stop overthinking it. We have way overcomplicated this thing, and it's just being a friend. It's just engaging in relationship. And when we overcomplicate it, think it has to be some big activity every time or some cool thing. And that's not even what everybody's looking for. Many people
it gets harder to do
that.
the more you go that route.
And I don't want another thing or another activity, but I do want to have meaningful conversation, right?
Yeah.
And then, like the whole thing with inviting kids to the playground. Like, man, when I was a father with young kids, I was dying to have some way to distract my kids, because otherwise you're just like wrangling. It was awesome to be able to go and do that. So it's a relief to your wife. It's a relief to you. The kids get to play. There's so many ideas. I think the idea isn't about here's how to do it. Here's a prescribed way. It's an art. It's not a science. And I think just try, just do it and realize that it's core and not some ancillary, it's okay if I don't do it thing.
Yeah.
Make it primary.